Honor Flight Chicago recognizes America's senior war veterans for their bravery, determination, and patriotism with an all-expense-paid, one-of-a-kind journey to Washington, D.C. For these veterans, it is a day of honor, thanks, and inspiration at the memorials built in tribute to their service. The trip is only one day, but the experience is life-changing. These are just a few of the thousands of veterans we have honored in our history. Behind every face, there is a story. Within each story, there are lessons to be learned and opportunities to be inspired.
At that time, I wanted to be one of the best at my job or what I wanted to do. And one of the things I wanted to do, I wanted to go airborne. I wanted to jump out of an airplane, as crazy as that might be. But because my buddies would tell me, "Are you crazy? You want to jump out of airplanes?" And that's what I want to do.
We caught the tail end of the Korean War, being a young boy. We were very proud of the people that served in the military. So that was kind of a goal for myself and my brother. So when we became of age, I was 17. I graduated high school on June 24th of 1963, and I went to Marines July 11th of 1963.
I had been trained as a teletype operator, but when we got to our camp, there were no telephone wires because the Germans had stripped all the telephone wires and carted them away as they retreated. The officers were talking to each other with walkie-talkies. One of her saying was, "Nadie nace enseñado." Nobody is born knowing. You have to learn. You have to study in order to learn. Studying is very, very important. School is very important. And as I say, it's a step, one grade, and then you take another step.
We'd get up in the mornings. We'd have to go upstairs in the main hospital, and we had a nun that would give us inspection, which meant we had to have our hair rolled up. Our hair was never allowed to hang down on our uniform. Never. We had to wear a net around it. And then they checked us to see that our uniform was fresh, that the cuffs were fresh, that the collars were fresh, and we wore a big white apron around our waist, starched so stiff that when you walked, you could hear a girl from way down the other end of the hall.
One of the fun parts, or funny, is Christmas Day we were playing football on the ice, and the Penguins were our fans. There's thousands and thousands of penguins.
One of the first missions I flew at, I had experienced a thing thinking to myself, "Oh my God, they're shooting at me." And I was flying with our commanding officer who said, "Zilla, you better start returning fire or we're not going to be up here much longer."
We were gathering around in the stadium, and all of a sudden, they began yelling, "Incoming, incoming." We didn't know what the incoming was. We found out later on, this German attack plane just came down and just began strafing the area. Fortunately, they had trenches dug around the area, and we hit the trenches. And since this was in January 1944, it was extremely cold. The trenches had frozen ice in them, but we didn't care because that German, that Nazi pilot, he was really bent on getting us.
The temperatures were quite hot, quite humid. It was very tropical. You know, there were monkeys and there were elephants. A friend of mine was in a different unit. I talked to him, and he was attacked by a tiger there. I thought, monkeys, once you're in the jungle, there's nothing but monkeys up high. And they throw things at you. Not good things.
We arrived at Midway Airport. 0400 hours we had to be there. From 0400 until 22 or whatever it was we got back from DC. I just can't get the thought out of my mind. It was like God got together some of his best angels and said, I want you all to go to Chicago Midway Airport, be there before 0400, because that's the time I want those Vietnam veterans to be there. I want you all to set up, go get scenery for them when you get down there. And I want each one of you all to attach yourself to one of those veterans, and I want you to show that man the best time that he ever had in his life. Make him feel more important than he ever felt in his life. So each one of us had our own individual angel. I've never been treated with so much honor, dignity, and respect.
One of the most spectacular parts was on the flight back just before we got on ground back in Chicago. They came out with what they called mail call on the plane. And I believe everybody on the plane got a mail call to him. It was unbelievable because of the emotions that it gave. My daughter's kids went to St. Ray's Catholic School in Joliet, Illinois, and the whole school, all the kids there in their classes wrote thank you notes to me for my service to the country, for what I did for them so that they could live in this country the way it is now. And when we got off the plane, I was crying like a baby.
Halfway through the flight, they got up and said, and now it's time for mail call. And, everybody looked at each other and he said, mail call? Somehow, some way, my wife and the family of all of us on this flight were able to gather letters, postcards, all kinds of wonderful letters about how grateful all of our family and friends. I mean, I have dear soldier, we love you doing your part, so we made you this art from Stony Brook School. I mean, I look at this stuff, grammar school kids, look at all this stuff. I couldn't believe it. All these 104 guys on this plane all had mail like this. It was unbelievable. All we were doing was talking about it throughout the airport, when we were leaving. So I can't say enough about Honor Flight Chicago, the people that pull that together, all the volunteers.
Connect with Honor Flight Chicago and veterans in your community to hear the stories like these that our veterans have to share. Educate yourself and others through the history and life experience that veterans can share before we lose this valuable human resource. Inspire others to join you in finding ways to honor veterans for their service and sacrifice.